Hello everyone, my name is Achax and today we are going to be breaking down the Guardian. The Guardian is one of the most powerful meta picks available to players in Valorant. With the increase to the cost of abilities, many players are being forced to compromise their abilities, their shields, or their weapon. I, on the other hand, was always able to buy the Guardian and shields, and I did not face the same economic troubles that plagued my team. Even better, the Guardian really surprised me with just how good it is. It is one of the most rewarding weapons I have learned so far, so I was excited to make this guide. Let's kick it off with the stats of the Guardian. The Guardian is a one-tap at all ranges. It is 3 body shots and 4 leg shots. It has just 12 rounds in a clip and a fire rate of only 5.25. The gist of the stats is that the Guardian is high damage, low fire rate. This means it is important to make shots count, but when they do count, especially with that one tap, they can count for a lot. Now let's talk about spray. The Guardian is semi-automatic, so it doesn't really have a spray. However, it has some incredibly good spread. As far as moving and shooting goes, walking and shooting isn't very accurate. Running and gunning is typically ill-advised. The Guardian resets accuracy fairly quickly. Look at how fast I can shoot this perfectly accurate. However, you don't want to spam. The takeaway from the spread is to quickly tap shoot. You can learn the right speed just by giving it a quick test. Okay, let's transition into how to use the Guardian. I should probably start with something core like positioning, but I really love wallbanging with the Guardian, so I'm going to kick it off there instead. The high damage combined with heavy ammo type results in a wallbanging monstrosity if you know how to use it. With other strong choices, the general wallbang strategy is often to guess and pour as many bullets into a wall as possible. However, the Guardian is semi-automatic, so that changes things a little. There are 2 key methods I use to land wallbangs. The first is a type of peek. It's like a wide swing, but instead of stopping with a clear line of sight, intentionally swing even farther to put a wall in between yourself and the opponent, and use good tracing to stay locked on the opponent's head. The Guardian's high damage allows it to beat out many other weapons, if they can even land shots through the wall in the first place. Alternatively, you could peek close, unpeek, and wallbang through the surface closest to you. The second method is very precise and demands strong game sense. After seeing an opponent or knowing where they are, use game sense and visualization to track their location through the wall. If possible, find the headshot. These picks are amazing because due to the high damage, they can be brutally fast and offer key frags at a very low risk. Landing these shots is typically easier more closely after you see the opponent because it becomes more difficult to predict movements the longer you go without a concrete anchor point. It is still possible to deliver guess and pour wallbangs, but spamming tends to be pretty inaccurate. It's usually better to tap quickly in an accurate rhythm as we discussed earlier. Alright, now getting down to the core. I found the Guardian to be a weapon that flourishes with good positioning. There is this sweet spot for the Guardian between 30 meters and infinity where it is particularly strong. That's not because it is terrible super close. I found myself beating out judges at close range more than once, but spraying becomes far less effective further out. This neutralizes one of the primary disadvantages the Guardian has compared to other rifles and SMGs, and in fact, often allows you to punish players who spray at very ambitious distances. Good positioning will allow you to leverage the incredible damage of the Guardian while mitigating the slower fire rate. Playing in cover and peeking out closely will allow multiple attempts or multiple fights. Make sure to change up the timing between peeks in order to stay unpredictable so that you don't get pre-fired. Even better, changing up the angle can catch opponents off guard. This allows the player to squeeze in many opportunities to land the lethal one-tap or deal high damage. Good movement can be incredible with the Guardian. Since it is semi-automatic, there is this downtime between shots. Players who aren't used to it may not take advantage of this. Good movement will make you difficult to hit, which will often convert into more opportunities to land shots or disengage from the fight, which in turn can often spell the difference between eliminating and being eliminated. Stutter Stepping is super good with the Guardian. Stutter Stepping is a bunch of super quick, short changes which forces the opponent to make a lot of micro corrections or predict your next motion. It basically means stringing short counter strafes together. If you don't know how to counter strafe yet, there is a tutorial on that linked in the description down below. The Guardian can have slightly more complicated crosshair placement. The high damage means that sometimes you will want to aim for center mass. There are many situations where opponents are one shot to the body, and some situations where 2 easy body shots are more viable than a headshot. For players who have drilled head level placement, this can be a difficult adjustment. More than once I found myself consciously aiming for a body shot, then going back to head level the instant I had something to snap to. It's important to have some level of focus on crosshair placement if you want that advantage. In addition, good crosshair placement, accounting for whether the opponent is likely running or walking, for your reaction time, and for what you're aiming at is very important. The cleanest eliminations I had came when good crosshair placement meant I barely had to aim at all, and the one tap did the rest. The last and perhaps most important part of the Guardian is confidence. Confidence can mean many things, but in this case it mostly comes down to being comfortable with low margins of error. Low margins of error are when mistakes often have a high cost. This looming possibility of a high cost can often cause a player to be nervous, even if the demanded skill is no different from one a player can usually execute flawlessly. Nerves can cause a player to perform those skills differently. It's interesting because nerves can have a physical impact, such as causing muscles to tense, which can result in aim that is jerky and slow. They can also have mental impacts, such as overthinking, which will interfere with muscle memory and lead to slower reactions and decision making. Essentially, players are nervous about making a mistake, which, in brutal irony, causes them to make a mistake. On top of that, many players unconsciously take what they perceive as safer actions when under pressure. They will do things like aim for body shots because they are easier to land, or reload in an exposed position in order to have a full supply in case they miss. These behaviors generally tend to be very disadvantageous in practice, especially with the Guardian. Typically, it is better to avoid them. Being comfortable with low margins of error allows you to perform at your peak under pressure. I am by no means perfect in the confidence department, but through practice, I've generally gotten to a point where being nervous isn't something that occurs to me. My comfort comes from lowering the pressure and neutralizing doubt. I lower the pressure by rationally weighing the outcomes, and this is like way before the game, not in the moment. If someone was like, if you don't hit this shot, no more eating bacon box Roy for the rest of your life, I would probably be pretty nervous because that's a really steep cost. However, with Valorant, it's typically the fight that hangs in the balance, and as a result, maybe the round, and then maybe the game, and then maybe rating, and it kind of stops there, unless you're playing in a tournament or something. Now, I know I can brush off losing one fight, and I know I can win back rounds, and I know I can win other games and win back rating. These are all renewable resources as far as I'm concerned, so potentially losing some tiny amount of these things is not going to make me feel stressed, because landing that shot is no longer a necessity. In my experience, the brain often reacts to the emotions of pressure without actually considering rationally whether you ought to be feeling pressure in the first place. And so taking away that pressure can be highly effective because now there is not a reason to be nervous in the first place. The second piece that plays off the first piece is neutralizing doubt. So first of all, many players are put off by not having a quick follow-up shot with the Guardian. This makes them nervous because they have doubts they can land that first shot. And sometimes these doubts are actually very reasonable, but a lot of the time, it isn't even the fear of missing the first shot that stresses people out. It's the lack of a second one. And that difference is very important because you don't need the second shot if you land the first one. The way I think of it is like this. Even if I had a second shot, I hit the first shot a lot. The lack of a second shot doesn't make hitting the first shot more difficult. So rationally, I have this understanding that I'm not going to let my second shot throw off my first shot. Now on top of that, an even more powerful method of neutralizing doubt is being in the moment. This part is the most important, even though it is shorter because it is simple to explain. If a player is absorbed and focused on what they are doing, all these meta thoughts and fears don't occur to them in the first place. Nervousness can drag people out of the zone, and that is where the rational thinking can act as a preset buffer to stay focused and to not be affected by nerves. So now we can take this little frantic bubble of nerves that alters gameplay and inhibits good decision making, and we can replace it with this certainty of I'm probably going to hit this shot, which will be nice, and if I don't, it's fine. And so you'll see in many of these clips that I'm very comfortable with playing with 3, 2, 1 rounds in a magazine. I'm not reloading in a bad situation as a result of pressure. I'm not unnaturally accelerating my aim and trying to flick everywhere because there are a lot of opponents applying positional pressure. I've noticed that comfort with low margin of error is the most important factor, and scoring multi-frags and making crucial round impact with the Guardian. I never realized how much the buy save cycle was built around the 2900 rifles until I made this video for the Guardian. The Guardian is 2250, which doesn't seem like that much less to me, but I found I could buy it with armor almost every round. If you aren't good with the Guardian, this could mean that you perform mediocre on buys and mediocre on saves, which is generally not as good as doing very well with your team on buys. However, if you are good with the Guardian, this can mean that you will go into every round with a very powerful asset to help you win it. That's a massive advantage, and it can lead to many more rounds that you wouldn't have been able to take by using the Vandal or Phantom. The Guardian is an extremely strong weapon that allows skilled players to pop off at a discount. Through strong positioning, good control, smart crosshair placement, and confidence, the Guardian can help a player shine at the top of the scoreboard. I hope you found some value in this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Best of luck everyone, and have a great day.